Hello, well, welcome once again to Midweek Connect. It's good to see you. My goodness, is it Wednesday already? This week it's not me. We've actually got a guy from our church who many of you'll know called David Manning. He hasn't been well at all recently. And he came up to me and he said, look, can I share something for Midweek Connect this week? And I said, absolutely, of course you can. So he's got something about 6 or 7 minutes based on the Word of God, which I know will inspire you and challenge you. Now, he has just recovered actually from being ill. So it's really good that he's able to do this and speak clearly, and we look forward to it. So here, without any more from me, here's David Manning. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Hi, glad to be able to share with you something from the Word of God today. I don't know whether you're into New Year's resolutions or not. As a rule, I'm generally not. But this year I thought I'd make a resolution to read the Bible through from start to finish. Not in huge chunks. I wasn't going to set myself an impossible target, but I decided I would read a chapter a day, starting with the Old Testament, Genesis chapter 1, and the New Testament, Matthew chapter 1, and going through to the end of both testaments. Haven't measured how long it's going to take me. We made a start on January the 1st. I don't know whether you've read the creation story recently, but it is truly amazing how that out of nothing God created everything that we see and we know around us. Light out of darkness, land, seas, birds, animals, fish, everything created by the Word of God, by the power of the Spirit of God, and out of nothing came all that we see and we know. And know God said it was good, and it was good, and it is still good to see the marvels of God's creation around us. But the pinnacle of his creation came when he said, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, to be like us. And the greatest capacity that we have that is like God is the capacity of love. Genesis chapter 2 gives us the analysis of what happened, how God created man and woman, brought them together in a bond that we call matrimony, of marriage, of commitment together. And we have this wonderful picture of their creating, the creator and the created in harmony, meeting together without shame, not knowing guilt, not knowing regret, not knowing sorrow. Truly, it must have been amazing. But we know, unfortunately, that the story goes on. As we move into chapter 3, we see that man gives into temptation. When the query comes, has God said, a doubt arises in his heart, and he is led astray. And what we call the fall of man occurred, and we lost that glorious fellowship that we had with God, that relationship that we had at that point. It would be restored through Christ at the cross, but that was some time to come. In the meantime, things got worse and worse. There was murder, and there was anarchy, and there was hatred, and there was bloodshed. And we get to the point where we find that God is sorry that he ever created man in the first place. We're going to read from Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. Then the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and grieved in his heart. The Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, from man to animals, to creeping things, to birds in the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them. And then this little verse 8 of chapter 6. But Noah found favour in the eyes of the Lord. In spite of everything that was going on around him, somehow or other, Noah was a man of integrity, a man after God's own heart. And we find that God could trust Noah to preserve a remnant of each species of animal and bird, and his family were saved by his obedience to God's command to build the ark. You know the story well, no doubt. And for 40 days and 40 nights, rain fell on the earth, and everything was destroyed that could be destroyed, until the only living creatures left were those in the ark. And we come down to Genesis chapter 8, verse 1, and I find this totally amazing. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and the cattle that were with him in the ark. God remembered this man that was the paragon, if you like, of virtue, the only man who could stand before God and be commended by him. He obeyed God completely in the way that he built the ark, in the way that the preparations he made to preserve those animals and birds and so forth that were being saved. He made everything that God told him to do, he did. And God had forgotten him. He was left adrift on the open seas, as it were, in his ark. And God had to remind himself of his existence. Now, it doesn't mean that. It meant that God remembered him in order to do something to redeem the situation. But God remembered Noah, chapter 8, verse 1. God remembered Noah and all the beasts and the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. God had not forgotten Noah. It was merely that the time had come for him to be released from the ark and allowed out to repopulate the earth and allow the animals and the birds to go free. The work of the flood had been accomplished, and all that needed to be destroyed had been destroyed. God has not forgotten us. We might feel like that we are adrift, like Noah was in his boat for months on end, with no end in sight, but there is an end in sight. God is working his purposes out, and we are privileged to be part of those purposes in these days. So God has not forgotten you. Rejoice in the fact that he knows you, and he knows the number of hairs on your head and every detail about you, your concerns, your worries, and your fears. And he is with you now, because he lives within us as we are his children by his Spirit. So take courage. The day is coming when we will see him act in